Well, good morning and welcome to our Maundy Thursday reflection. Maundy Thursday in the Christian calendar, we usually remember Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples. But for us, as we've been working through Matthew's Gospel, we're landing at events that happened early on Good Friday morning at Jesus' trial before Pilate. And it is Pilate who I want to focus on this morning. I'd like to draw out two things in relation to this trial. The first is this. Pilate was clearly aware of Jesus' innocence. We see that right at the beginning of the text. Have a look with me at verse 13. Pilate says to Jesus, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But interestingly, Jesus makes no reply. And Pilate is amazed. If you're anything like me, you'll know that if you're accused of doing something which you haven't done, I'm very quick to jump up and down and want to make a statement about why that is wrong. By contrast, Jesus remains completely silent. And Pilate is amazed. But things progress. See, Pilate next, he sees straight through, doesn't he, his accusers. He knows exactly why they brought Jesus in front of him. Verse 18, for he knew it was out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. Jesus was handed over not because he'd done anything wrong, but because it was politically expedient for those Jewish leaders to get rid of Jesus. We then get this little interesting incident of what happens with Pilate's wife. And Matthew's Gospel is the only one to record this. Have a look with me, verse 19. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message. She said, "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." Pilate's wife knows that Jesus is innocent and has far more insight, it seems, than Pilate himself. But Pilate, of course, knows that Jesus is innocent, and we see that with this little interaction with the crowd. As Pilate seeks to release a prisoner, he tries to release Jesus and asks the crowd the question. Verse 23, what crime has he committed? But the crowd just reply, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate gives up the point and ultimately abdicates responsibility. Have a look with me, verse 24. He says, "I am innocent of this man's blood." Pilate knows throughout this passage that Jesus is innocent, but he fails to deal with him appropriately. This is my second point this morning, and an area I'd like us to reflect on. You see, Pilate, it seems, abdicates responsibility and leadership at this critical moment. And he does so ultimately for the sake of an easy life. He wants to keep the crowd on side. He wants to keep the Jewish leaders on side. And even if that means an innocent man ends up being crucified, Pilate's willing to go down that road for the sake of an easy life. And it can be easy to say, how foolish was Pilate? But how often are we just the same? How often do we run away from the truth of what God would want us to do for the sake of an easy life? Do we avoid saying something or doing something at work, with the family, amongst friends, for the sake of an easy life, rather than seeking to do what's right for the honour of God? So I want to take a few moments to reflect on this trial, Jesus' innocence, and how we can be, at times, just like Pilate.